Embiid got a piece of it. Running the floor. Embiid stuffs it.
Harden for three. James Harden with his second triple.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Pick Swap Podcast. A little bit of a lull, a little bit less energy than last time following a Sixers Game 5 loss. Sean, how are you feeling, brother?
Yeah, it's always something with this team, man. And it can
Yeah.
never go just 100% easy. So definitely frustrated over the effort in Game 5. The lack of energy throughout was just so frustrating to not be able to show up on that type of stage. So Sixers aren't in the best spot now. Got to win 2 in a row to keep the season alive. Got to defend the turf at home on Thursday and then find a way to steal Game 7 if they want to keep this thing going.
Yeah, man. I'm not out yet. I feel like a lot of people are kind of not necessarily giving up, but not having a lot of faith. I'm going to keep the faith until the fat lady sings, like I said before. Before we get into too much today, I want to thank our sponsor, BetUS, one of the leading sportsbook and casinos in the market. If you guys are really interested to bet with us and bet with BetUS, you can check out our code on the YouTube bio and use our code PICKSWAP at login to get your first bet risk grip to $500. Make sure you check out the bio of the YouTube and the bio of the podcast as well, and use our code PICKSWAP to get your first bet risk grip to $500. But to go into this game, they just got their ass beat. Like, I don't know. Obviously we're going to talk a lot about it, but like it was really from the jump. It was kind of just they got their ass beat. Miami came out with they had the mindset there not losing that game, and the Sixers kind of rolled over basically immediately. I have a lot of things to say about this game, but almost nothing at all that like has any sort of bearing. Like they got their ass beat. I don't know how else to put it. Like from the jump, I really just felt like they had no chance, which is not a good way to go about a Game 5 and, in a series that's tied 2-2 on the road, in a momentum game, like a very important game, to come out with no fire, no energy. That sucks. But I'm kind of just in the mindset of it's over and you got to move forward.
Yeah, it's something you got to flush it, rinse it, move on. Miami clearly responded. They came out looking way sharper in Game 5. They shot 13 of 33 from 3, 39.4%. It felt like significantly more than that.
Yeah.
They were running looks we saw Duncan Robinson get some time. Max Strus was hot. Max Strus 4 of 10. Jimmy Butler 2 of 4 from 3.
Yeah,
PJ
whatever.
Tucker 2 of 2 from 3. Hollywood Haysmith's out there banging threes against us. Tyler Hero 2 for 2. Victor Oladipo 2 for 2. Duncan Robinson hit one. It felt like everything went in from deep. And he managed to separate the game from that point. And just the lack of response from the Sixers, just the whole game. It was never within like a reachable point after like the first quarter. There was always at least like a 10-point window. And it just felt like there was a step behind the entire game.
Yeah. Dude, the thing that bothers me and like when these type of things happen is they force feed Embiid. And I know that he's the most important player in the court. I understand that he's the best player on the floor, throughout this entire series. He's the most important player. But like when those things happen, somebody else has to go.
Yeah.
And, we got, probably the worst Maxey game that we've gotten in a while.
Yeah.
9 points, 2 of 10 from the field, just didn't have it. They didn't shoot well. Like, let's be honest, they didn't space the floor like hardly at all. They shot like 28% from 3. Tobias was, he was out there. That's almost the best I could say about it. And Harden, I mean, no one scored over. Like, Embiid led the team in scoring with 17. Harden was second with 14. Like, I don't want to go through and be like, this guy was ass and this guy sucked and he didn't do this. And he, like, genuinely top to bottom, they did not show up at all, which is kind of insane, considering the magnitude of that game. And like, you and I have talked about it a lot. Like, how does this team go into that game and just not show up? Like, it's one of the games of the season. It's maybe the only game of the season thus far where you have to put up or shut up. And they really just walked in there and like allowed Miami to put them on a leash and dog walk them for, 48 minutes, which is, to me is just kind of insane.
Yeah. I mean, Joel Embiid is the most important player on this team. We obviously know that. But beyond just like the offense and the defensive end and any on-court like just factors that he is, the energy he brings is like so essential to this team, and the team follows him based on what he puts out. And in one respect, that's somewhat of a credit to Embiid for being that emotional kind of leader. But on the other hand, like that's unacceptable as a professional athlete to be relying on that to get you going. Like
Yeah.
for if Joel's sleepwalking, that means the entire team is sleepwalking. Is crazy. And granted, Joel has to be a little better. Like there's got to be more energy. He looked flat last night, more flat than he's been in quite some time. But for Game 5, for every single player on the roster simply not being like ready to get up for that is crazy to me. And like for not that like the season, what not that it was on the line in Game 5, but you definitely have your back against the wall now. Like
Yep.
they're not in a good spot now, and to just kind of like let them have let the Heat have that without a fight is so crazy. And this has been an issue dating back like multiple years now, just about Embiid's entire tenure here, where
Mm.
whatever he brings, like that's a direct replication of what comes out on the rest of the team. And like there has to be guys that just have a fire regardless of whether Embiid's there, and to be reliant on one guy to be like the heart and soul. There just has to be more. As a professional athlete, you have to be ready to bring it every single night, and I feel like guys didn't.
Yeah, I think that's something that they're gonna have to look into in the offseason, like, bring in a guy that's gonna bring it. Like, you talk about PJ Tucker, like, seriously, as much as he's been annoying in this series, he's a guy you love to have on your team, and he's a guy
Mhm.
that's not gonna put up with that kind of thing, especially this late in the season, in the postseason. I was kinda joking with my parents this morning talking about this game. I would have no confidence in a Game 6 win had they won last night. Doc Rivers doesn't win closeout games. He doesn't win, he doesn't win those elimination games when he has a chance to close out a series. He has a terrible record. He may be the worst coach ever in those scenarios. So kind of funny, and like almost a, I'm kind of trying to flip the script here. They've done such a good job blowing series. Maybe he's able to bring it the other way and use that experience. He knows what it takes to lose a series in that. Let's see what if he knows what it takes to win it. But yeah, I mean, they just had like a timidness last night. They just had like a hesitancy. Yeah, as a group. I've never seen Tyrese Maxey hesitate on a floater, and he did it like
Yeah,
2 or 3 times.
and missed a
Tobias
couple.
Harris, yeah, he missed a couple, like, and badly. I think he only made 1 3, and it was a late shot clock. It was from deep, but like I don't know, man. It was strange to me to see them kind of have a little bit of, especially after those last 2 games, like coming off those 2 wins at home. I understand there's a change of scenery, but again, it's not like Miami is a hostile environment. I don't know, some of the guys from the Liberty Line were there yesterday. They took a, quick trip down, and like they were sending videos from 5 minutes before tip off and the stadium's empty. But it's like I've never seen them, especially guys like Tyrese and Joel, um, really like act like there was, they were afraid to take shots. They're afraid to miss shots. And that really seemed prevalent with all 5 of the starters and, even down the line. But I don't know, man. It was a weird game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we got DJ Khaled out there giving back rubs mid game. We got hype from the crowd acting like he's going to check in himself. It was the whole Miami Heat experience, but they just punched
Yeah.
the Sixers in the mouth and they just never replied. I mean, Tobias led the team in shots, shot 5 for 14. Tyrese Maxey, I always sit in such a difficult spot with
Yeah.
Maxey in terms of criticism because like on one hand, he's the 21-year-old kid. He's already has a much bigger role than anyone would have expected at this point. And in reality, like this is the Joel Embiid and James Harden team to this is their responsibility. The more weight goes on their shoulder, but the skill set and just who Tyrese Maxey is so drastically needed in the Sixers offense and on this team. And to not like he's been a spark of energy guy pretty much his entire tenure
Yeah.
here. Like that's who he is. He's a high energy guy, high motor guy. But to 9 points, 2 of 10 shooting, 20%. Like you just have to be better than that. And there was never like a maxi run. And there wasn't a run like for the
At
entire
all.
team pretty much through the whole game. But it feels like just about every game there's like a stretch where Maxi like hits his stride, where he gets out on a couple fast breaks, where he gets a couple easy buckets. And that never happened. And especially with like I had the feeling Duncan Robinson was checking into the game prior to the game just based on Spoelstra's comments, and
Yeah.
that felt like an adjustment that was about to be made, and it was. And there was the one play where they were in transition. He had one-on-one with Duncan Robinson where he just absolutely put his head down and took him, and that was like a direct like sign of why Robinson has been playing. But if you're gonna have that many just liability defenders that are just straight shooters out there, like those are the matchups that Maxey needs to step up and take. Like he should be taking Duncan Robinson or Tyler Hero or Max Strus off the dribble every single time that he has an opportunity. And it felt like he never asserted himself in the offense. I thought the zone that the Heat threw at the Sixers, Embiid struggled with way more than he has in the past couple games. It was a kind of weird zone where they were putting Embiid at the top of the key and basically just collapsing on him, and they had 3 strongly like tripling him, and like I don't know, it was a little bit different look than it has been the past couple games, and it felt like Embiid was struggling to like process it too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. It's like they didn't get to the rim at all. Well,
No.
how many free throws did they shoot? 14? Like I think there's like
Uh,
14 or 15, maybe. Not many. Like
yeah,
well
15.
under what? Yeah, like so Embiid normally averages what, like 11.8 free throws per game in the playoffs, and they shot 14 as a team. Like they did not get to the rim. They did not put pressure on that defense. And I know they played, Miami's playing the zone, and like give some credit to Miami, which I said before I'm not going to do very often. Like they're a good defensive team, and
Yeah.
they're well coached, and they came in with a plan and they executed it, to the most effective degree, clearly. But to not get anything attacking downhill, not putting any pressure on their rim protectors. Like you see what happened in game 4, getting PJ Tucker, getting Bam Adebayo, getting all those guys in foul trouble because they were getting to the rim, and B's getting early post ups. They're pushing the pace. They're getting out and running. They were just like everything that worked in game 4 was just not there in game 5 at all. I don't know what happened. I don't know, maybe it was the flight, maybe it's Miami, maybe it's who knows? Who knows? But they just did not come out to play. And I mean, I love it. I don't love that game, but this is a battle. This is a fight. This is going to be tooth and nail. You said it before. I was kind of confident they would win that game. Obviously, I was wrong by a lot, but this one hopefully is going to go 7. I don't think the Sixers lose at home in game 6. I think things are going to be different. But in game 7 in Miami, I mean, this is fun. I don't, I think a lot of people are too like, I know there's only you can only lose 3 games to win a series. Okay, they lost 3. They could still win 4. You know what I mean? Like I think a lot of people really put their tail between their legs last night and just said, "Okay, we're done." Like the Sixers beat their ass in game 3. Like beat the shit out of them. Same way they beat the shit out of the Sixers last night. Like they're it happens. These games, this is a series. It's one team's going to win, one team's going to lose. Like we said, it's kind of time to just see what didn't work in that game, forget all about it, and figure out how to make it work in game 6.
Yeah, I mean, I think losing by 35
Yeah, it
makes it a little
sucks.
different. Yeah, like definitely doesn't make it a swallowable loss. But one of the things that frustrated me, I mean, obviously the MVP news, uh, the speculation across the broadcast, very strong speculation that like this was Joel in his head about the MVP votes. I think is so crazy. Like like he said post game, like this is something he knew kind of for weeks and months.
Yeah.
Like this has been kind of an accepted thing, and B like maybe there's a little more than this going on. Maybe it's the torn ligament in his thumb or the broken bone in his face, which he took a pretty notable whack to his face again, was down in some serious pain. I thought
Yeah.
his energy level shrunk after that. I thought there were a couple contests
And
that
his
he just didn't
back.
go up for. He definitely got like that's an unimaginable amount of pain just that he's
Dude.
just playing through casually. And like I respect him bringing it and doing his best, and I think it's pretty lame to brush it off as like he's just pouting about MVP, not the 8 other things that are currently wrong with his body.
Yeah, and he clearly tweaked his back
Yeah,
early in that game, saving a loose ball. Like, I don't know. I think I mean, I don't think it's just irresponsible. It's just a bad take. Like, it's just like
yeah,
who are you? Like, I think I felt like we've kind of gotten past the like Joel Embiid slander, but it was like obvious to look at them and just say like they're trying to find a way to shit on this guy, like a guy that's playing through 2 like significant, probably like 2-month recovery time injuries. If you factor in surgery and what it takes to get back, like if anyone else is playing, if anyone else is having these injuries, like you look at the other guys that are missing playoff games right now, like there is no doubt in my mind. Embiid's on the ground, like visibly, maybe in the most pain I've ever seen him in on
yeah,
the floor, on the court. And I was like, he's gonna get up and he's gonna play because he's that tough. Like, and I
yeah,
don't know why somehow we've gone this like full circle where it's like, oh, like now he's distracted and being pouty. How does
yeah.
that make any sense at all? And like, what drew you to that conclusion other than that like you can connect the dots that like the MVP was announced yesterday or 2 days ago, and now he's playing like this is the first game he's played since. That's the only two connections there. So like I don't know. I think that was just a stupid take. And I thought that I thought Shaq and Chuck have done a better job this year with like without being so hard on him for like really no reason. But that was just bullshit. And I was like, I really don't get it.
Yeah, super lame. And I thought it came up multiple times. It was with Charles
Yeah.
Barkley directly said it in his halftime spiel. Shaq alluded to it. And then on the broadcast directly, like Chris Haynes getting called in, talking about how he had no energy and shoot around. And then just got into on the bench, just kind of like sitting there. Just very lame to me in terms of just
Yeah.
like I don't know. I as much as he's got going on, like it's not his responsibility to make the entire team show up. And sure, he needs to have a higher energy level himself, but like that the MVP voting, I'm telling you, had no effect on like Tobias Harris or Tyrese Maxey or James Harden,
James
who
Harden.
was back to the old James Harden that we were not happy to see. I thought it was an especially poor James Harden night. Ended second on the team in scoring, had 14 points. He failed in the aspect of what we've talked about, and this is in a lot of ways giving a pass on his scoring. But his most important role in this team is to be the distributor. The amount that they struggled offensively, a lot of that falls on his shoulders. He struggled to create looks. He had a couple that like that they were unable to capitalize on to give him credit there. But to end with just 4 assists is brutal for a guy who is the primary distributor of the offense. I mean, the Sixers shot 31 of 85 from the field. 36.5% there, 28.1% from three. The shots just were not falling. Georges Niang, man, I don't think he can step foot on the court like at all the rest of this series.
All of 6, dude.
It's so difficult. 0 for 6 from three. Like we're in one aspect of my mind, I'm in like the law of averages. Like he just has to be able to shoot better. He has to get hot. But it's just like when he is not connecting on shots, he's just flat out unplayable. Like the defense is that bad. He's that limited on that side that you just can't like waste him. And I get there's not a lot of like other great options out there. Like, I mean, Shake Milton, I thought was played a little too much. And I mean, there's just not a lot Doc can do in terms of what he's pulling from. So, but Georges has been killing me.
Yeah, it's been pretty bad, to be honest. I mean, all around it's just I mean, seriously though, I'm looking at this game and I'm just thinking like I don't even I'm blacking it all out as we speak. Like I'm forgetting about it as we speak. It's become nothing in my mind. Like I'm trying not to think too much about it. You know who I did love last night is Paul Reed.
Yeah.
Loved Paul Reed last night.
You can always count on Paul Reed to just do stuff, man. Just do stuff.
The and one he had kind of under the basket where he flipped it this way on the offensive rebound. I'm just like, hell yeah, dude. I love that guy. You know, maybe that's I don't even like you said, I don't even know where to go. Like I'm looking down the list of these guys. Like I don't want to see more Thibault. I don't want to see more Niang. I'm fine with Shake. I like Shake. He had a decent game. I guess not really 2 of 8 from the floor. Like he had 9 points and 2 of 8 from the floor. Like Isaiah Joe doesn't exist. So like I don't want to see more Furkan. You know, Jaden Springer. Yeah, I was gonna say maybe Jaden Springer gets a couple extra minutes. I don't know, man. But again, like you're looking at the top 5 guys in this team to make the difference. They didn't last night. They played like shit. You got to just move on. And you know, there's a lot more to play for here. And like I'm excited for Game 6. I don't know what's wrong with me this postseason, to be honest. I'm having a hard time getting down. Like I'm normally a miserable Sixers fan, just along with everybody else, but I don't know what it is. I'm feeling it right now. So I mean, that sucked. That game really did. But I don't even know how much else I have to say about it.
Yeah, I respect the optimism. I'm not quite in the same shoes as you. Yeah. I will give some love to Paul Reed. 16 minutes, 7 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and a block. That's about all you can
That's
ask
great.
for Paul Reed. That is a Paul Reed stat line right there. And just the little things that he does, like as far as guys that bring it, he's probably the only one that I was like fully satisfied with the effort last night. And it's just little things like contesting every single offensive board when he's out there, or he'll just like pressure a guy back court for no reason, and like that can mess with a guy. Like people don't do that in the NBA really. So just him like trying his ass off, being active, it does make a difference for this team. The N1 it felt like at the time like, all right, this could be a momentum changer. Like when he had that like N1 moment. It was not. There was no run that followed. But just like having that kind of play, he missed one. Harden had him on a beautiful look that the Sixers ended up keeping possession, but Paul Reed just bobbled it and it just went out of bounds basically. And like there's a lot of imperfection with Paul Reed, but I do like love and respect the fact that he does bring it every single second he's on the court.
Yeah, he's a guy I think, finally at this point, it seems like he's going to be a rotational piece, in the future. And I think he deserves to be, especially, you know, I think given a full season, a full regular season, there's a lot of good things about him that can be polished off and he can be turned into a really nice piece. But kind of to allude to what you said there, like he had the and one. It was like, okay, maybe we're in it. Maybe there's a chance you can go on a run here. It was every time that happened something bad happened on the other end, or like Miami hit a three to kind of cut a really small run that the Sixers went on, or there was just some stupid turnovers. Like there was one where Embiid and Maxey just kind of miscommunicated. He threw the ball out of bounds, and there was one where Harden dribbled it off his foot and kicked it into the stands. And it was like every time there was the chance, like the even the slightest chance for the Sixers to kind of get in it, something stupid and momentum killing happened. So I don't know, man. I don't even know what to make of it anymore. But I mean, what is the biggest thing you think they have to change before tomorrow night?
I mean, emotionally, the effort. I hate to be like the effort guy because in general, I
Yeah.
think that's pretty lame. But it's just like you just have to be locked in. Like it should not be hard to have to like get up for a playoff game
Yeah.
and get excited for a playoff game when like your season is on the line. But that that's the number one to me. And then tactically, I agree with like the forcing to Joel. I thought in Game 4 they did a pretty good job of just how actively that the Heat were denying Embiid the ball, no matter how hard he worked or how much he was fighting per possession. I thought the Sixers did a good job of like finding other ways to still create offense, to utilize like the massive attention that he's drawing and find other ways to capitalize on that. Last night I did not feel the same way, and Embiid did get it going a little bit in the second half, in the third quarter specifically.
Yeah.
I think he had 11 points in the quarter. He went from 6 to 17, but just forcing like the forcing him at the top of the key, it just isn't doing anything in terms of helping the offense. Like I thought Embiid was slower in his processing last night too. Like whenever they have like the three guys trapping on it, granted it did create 2 3-second violations within a span of a couple minutes, which I
Yeah.
thought was funny. Dwayne Dedman was back. I think that changed up the rotation for Miami, but they have to just find ways to score without Joel. Like as great as this guy is, as much as he is MVP, the presence and the just attention he demands is still helpful to this team, and the other guys have to step up and capitalize on that. And I get like the phrase how like stars are supposed to win road games, role players help at home, but like everybody has to step up every single game.
Yeah.
And I think just it feels irresponsible to throw this completely on Embiid, especially just how he's playing. And there just has to be like some sort of reliable outside offense for this team.
Yeah, I think I agree in that sense a lot. Like the whole game changes when Embiid obviously when he steps on the floor and things become a lot different. But getting him the ball, like free throw line extended with Adebayo, who's a strong defender, and then guys like PJ Tucker and Jimmy Butler playing help defense and kind of creating a wall. Like he just can't succeed consistently in that scenario. Like he's not going to give you consistent offense from that spot. He's working his ass off to get post position. They're doing everything they can. Bam is fronting him every second that he can, which like at that point you saw it a couple times yesterday where the ball got swung to the corner. Tobias ripped through, beat his defender, and with Adebayo fronting Embiid, baseline drive, wide open dunk layup. Like that happened 2 or 3 times last night because that is like that's something you have to work on. That's something you have to like adjust to and take advantage of. They're going to work so hard on Embiid. They're doing so much to try to stifle him and change what he is doing that they're going to give opportunities and create other opportunities for other players. So guys like Tyrese Maxey has to go in strong, has to get to the rim. Tobias Harris has to get to the rim. James Harden has to get to the rim. Like really, if they're going to double and triple Embiid at points in time, those other guys have to step up. And I can't watch this team waste 15 to 18 seconds of the shot clock trying to get the ball to Embiid, who's fighting for position. The ball has to move. There has to be a quick trigger on whatever open shots you get, and you have to get straight line drives. Like I feel like it's kind of getting back to the basics. I love Embiid. Obviously, he's a game changer. But when you're looking at what this team is doing and what Miami is giving up to make sure he doesn't score, there's a lot of opportunities out there for the other guys to score. So I think, the grand scheme of things, it's energy, but it's mostly just taking advantage of what Miami is foregoing in their defensive schemes.
Yeah, I did think Bam Adebayo played very well last night. Credit to
Yeah.
him. Only ended with 12 points, but I thought that was his best game in the series so far. I
Yeah.
thought I was very impressed with what he did defensively, specifically, and he had a couple nice flashes in yesterday's game. I would not mind bringing back some point guard Joel a little bit in terms of let him
Yeah.
dribble the ball up the court. That makes it very hard to create the doubles and create the attention in the same way. That was one of the reasons that Embiid did it so frequently at the beginning of the year. This was before Harden, where he would just get a rebound, go coast to coast himself, and take a guy one on one. And he's good enough, like off the dribble, to be able to do that. Not that he's ever
Yeah.
going to be a superstar transition player, but he's just at that size and skill set. You're pretty much forced to be in a one-on-one matchup at that point, which is what the
Yeah.
Sixers should be trying to get with him. That's like anytime he's a one-on-one matchup that's the offense. And I think having him like push it himself, bring it up himself is an easy way to create that. And they've gone away from that pretty much since Harden, which obviously Harden is for sure the better ball handler. Maxey is for sure the better ball handler. But like that's an opportunity to attack without the defense getting set, without them having a chance to dig their heels in and prevent Embiid from touching the ball, prevent him from getting possession. It's a chance to just go one-on-one and attack the basket. I think that's a way that can help get Joel going as well.
Yeah, and especially in the minutes that Harden's off the court and Embiid is on. I think creating different ways of attack. I mean, when Harden, we saw something we pointed out last pod was talking about how many early opportunities they got to Joel and how many times they got the ball to him, when he was getting early post ups and getting deep position. Obviously, Miami did their best to stop that or at least control it, which they did a good job in. So it's like it's adjust, it's react and adjust, and it's time for the Sixers to adjust. And like that's why I think, going into this game, there's clear things that you have to change, but there's also like things that just have to happen differently. You talked about the first two games and how they shot so poorly, how they weren't getting a lot of great looks. Went home, things happened. Danny Green went nuclear. George Niang started hitting some shots. Like the shots started falling. Obviously, Harden had a great game as well. So going into this game, I mean, I'm feeling okay about it. I feel like the home court thing kind of fell off, especially after last postseason. It was like, the Sixers are unbeatable. They're not going to lose at home. And it turned into like, oh shit, like they might lose the most important game of the season at home. So I get the nervousness, the anxiety going into this game, but like this is what they play for. And hopefully, I mean, a day off isn't enough. Let's also point that out. Like they haven't had an extended break at all this postseason, like literally at all. And the fact that the Toronto series went 6 games was annoying, and it hurt the fact that they couldn't get a break. But like they've only had a day or two off, 2 games off after the Toronto series, and only 1 game in between all of these games, or 1 day in between all of these games. So I don't know, man. They're battling through it right now, but this is the postseason grind. You got to get up and play a good game tomorrow night at home.
Yeah, 100%. One more tactical adjustment. I would like to see the way the Heat are setting up their zone. The way like the doubling Embiid always tends to benefit is it creates like open corner threes. Like that's kind of what the adjustment when they rotate in, how Embiid can hit that pass and presents a shot. I would like to try and work that the other way, where it's like swung to the corner, Embiid rotates to the block and drop it in that way. Just a different way of an entry pass. But also my concern with that is this has been an issue across the entire roster, but just the processing speed and making passes is so slow. And like that, to make that effective, that has to be like a bang, bang pass. I think that absolutely could work if the Sixers rotate quick enough, they can swing the ball quick enough. But I just don't know if they're going to be able to like react quick enough and make that happen. But that is like another way to, I think, combat this zone, hitting the attack, getting the ball to Embiid on the block rather than like at the free throw line it would change the way that at least the defense is set up, way the look has a chance to create some looks. It's worth a shot. It's worth changing up. Again, like there has to be like a bang bang pass with that, but that's something else that I would like to see. I think if getting him involved through allowing him to have his own fast break looks and by trying to work it on the block rather than at the free throw line are the 2 ways to like get Embiid involved in this game. But at the same time, like we've said, this is still on the other guys to step up and create offense on their own.
Yeah, and I think one thing that happens in that zone as well is you see the way they've attacked it before compared to the way that they attacked it last night. Like, how many times off the top of your head can you even think of one of these players, one of these guards or wings, attacking a zone gap and then kicking it and continuing it to move. Like they just didn't get any consistent movement or like high pace inside that half court offense, which like is the way to beat a zone is to attack the gaps and kick and move it. Like that's the way to do it. And I think they just got so like dead set on getting the ball to Embiid at certain points that like he's dragging guys out. He's dragging Bam out to the free throw line, posting him up there. Like genuinely, it would be more effective if they not having him in the dunker spot, but having him start there and having him be like. And you saw when he started scoring in that third quarter, it happened on offensive rebounds. It happened on the dirty work, and like it's okay for him to be that player on tomorrow night. Like it's okay for him to at least, especially to start, is to get everyone moving, to get everyone touching the ball, to get the ball getting downhill and quick pace with passes, hand to hand to hand to hand, instead of like wasting all this time trying to get the ball to him. Let him be that dirty work offensive center and defensive presence. That is good enough for them to win a ball game. Because at some point he's going to be able to take over offensively. He's done it a million times. And like if it is in that third quarter where it's like, okay, now he's going to get his shots, but once the defense has to stretch out, once the defense has to like respect the other players on the court, it changes the way that he's able to attack too. So definitely a good point there to say like there's different ways of attack, and I think at some point you kind of have to like remiss that responsibility almost just to get the ball to Embiid constantly. Like I know it should touch his hands, but at some point it can go a couple possessions without it, just to get, for the sake of getting the ball moving around and everyone else, involved as well.
Yeah, and we did see a couple minutes of not even a couple minutes, a couple plays of Embiid and Paul Reed on the court together. I love that idea. And granted, we're going from 0 to 100 with Paul Reed, that like a guy who went months without playing to now we're talking about like playing him alongside the starters. I'm not excusing that because the development should have been happening all season. This is on Doc Rivers for not giving him time, not letting him work out the kinks and the quirks in his game in the regular season. But we are at the moment we are at. They're making the adjustment they need to. When we talk about like the energy, like we know Paul Reed's bringing that, and like to have him being able to like do the dirty work, help out on the rebounds, just scrap and take a lot of like that responsibility off Joel, I also think would be like freeing in a way for him. And like lining those two up, like on the court together should solve a lot of the rebounding problems, whether it will or not to be determined. But like there's not a lot of better ways the Sixers can set themselves up for attacking the glass than having both those guys on the court. So that's something I think I would love to be like tinkered with and given a chance. It's energy, it's a chance, it's something, it's an adjustment, whether it works or not. But like we got to try something.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problems with it. I was excited when I saw it for that. Like, I literally really only remember like the one play, and I was like, oh shit, Paul Reed's on the court, like with Joel. Like, what a surprise! What a little treat for all of us down 25. Ease my pain for the night. Get to see a little Easter egg. But yeah, it was. I mean, I have no problems. Like, if you want to change something, go ahead. I have no problems with it, especially after that game. Like, try something out. To be, strangely enough, I was looking through the stats last night. I was writing the recap, and I was like surprised. I was like, okay, Miami didn't really out rebound the Sixers. They didn't offensively rebound them either. Like the Sixers had 10 compared to Miami's 8, and like that was a point, a real point of a problem, in the first two games. Obviously, it's changed with Joel being in there, but like I don't know. I like that's the thing is Miami got hot pretty early. It felt like all their threes went in the first quarter and a half, and I was like, God damn, this is gonna be a long night. It did turn out to be a long night, but like they didn't even end up shooting that well. Kind of what you mentioned earlier. And it's just like I think that first half just set them so far back that having to outplay them by 20 points in a quarter is, very, very difficult. And at the end of the day, it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row. Like Miami was on their heels. They just lost 2 games in a row. Same way the Sixers were when they went home. So again, I think this is one of those games, obviously losing by 35, being down to like 37 at one point. That's not cool. And that's a shitty way to lose a game, but a loss is a loss. A loss is a loss is a loss. It's one of those things that happens. This is a 7-game series. And like, I'm still like, they went into that game. Embiid talked about it very candidly after the game. That was like, sometimes there's just days where your body doesn't let you.
Yeah.
And it sucks to hear him say that. I'm worried about his long-term health dealing with all of these, pretty significant injuries and, yeah, even the small things you talk about the back and, the knees and the ankles and everything else that I'm sure he's going through having played like over 80 games this season. Um, it sucks. It sucks to hear that, but it is what it is. I'm glad he got some early rest, whether it be, not for good reasons. It's still rest and it's still a little bit extra rest. So, hopefully he's back and in a little bit better spirits and better shape on, Thursday night because they're going to need a better version of him.
Yeah, I mean, he still played 33 minutes. The
Yeah.
Sixers were outscored they tied 25-25 in the second quarter. All three other quarters, the Heat outscored them, and including 39-19 in the fourth, which the game absolutely blown
Yeah.
open at that point. Uh, Also, I did not appreciate the article from Mona Shelburne about basically the decision making of Jimmy Butler versus Ben Simmons. Well written article, but just no need to rub salt in the wounds at this point, and especially given the fact that like Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid as a duo at this stage in each of their careers is 100% good enough to win a championship, and that would be a phenomenal team. But that's not a
I don't
conversation worth
care.
having.
I don't
Yeah,
care at all. I have no
not
care.
not a conversation worth having. But it did bum me out to read that last night and think back a little bit. Like it is disappointing how that all played out.
I don't care.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't care. I don't like him. So I'm
yeah.
okay.
I've regained my respect and love for Jimmy in the series too. As much as it sucks watching it happen against the Sixers, there is something about him, man. Like there is like uh, a heart and a passion that he plays with that you just have to flat out respect. And I've questioned like his not superstar status, but I just guess like what is the top level of his game in comparison to players around the league. But he's just a master in the mid range, getting to his spots, like creating his looks, at doing his things. I thought he did a much better job as a distributor yesterday. He's got it. He's a guy that's got it, and I do give him a ton of respect for the success of this Miami team.
I don't I don't want to. I don't feel like it. I don't feel like doing that today. Maybe in a couple of weeks when I look back on this, maybe, it's annoying. I don't I don't know. He's still a fake tough guy in my eyes. He's still a guy that's, only going to talk shit when he's up by 25. He's still a guy that's going to pick out, Thibault or, whoever it may, George Niang, somebody to yell at when he's, putting up 30. But, I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care. I don't. I can appreciate his aggressiveness, and when we're talking about right now with the Sixers, how there's days and times where they just don't have it. That probably does not exist
yeah,
uh, with Miami, although like they got their ass beat the other night too. So I mean, it happens. But yeah, Jimmy Butler's a guy that definitely doesn't lack fire or energy, regardless of the night. And even when the team's losing and he puts up 40, like he's still doing his thing. So I can get it. I can get it. But right now, I don't want to. I don't want to appreciate him right now.
yeah. He's certainly not perfect. The Michelob Ultra commercial that I see every 10 seconds is super annoying, and
It's
I
gonna
hate
piss me off. Depending on the way the series plays out, it's gonna piss me off.
Yeah, that aspect's already there for me. I mean, just him singing and on the team playing, whatever. Just, I just one of the more annoying commercials right now, especially just given
Yeah.
the context of the matchup and everything. So, negative points for him there. But I don't know. The way he like we talk about heat culture, which I agree is kind of a fraudulent term and whatever that. But I think the Jimmy Butler culture is something that is fairly real, and that when the same conversation that we're having about like the Sixers not showing up every night, how there has to be like another guy like Jimmy. But like, think about it, it shouldn't have to be Joel. And I guess Jimmy
Yeah.
is like the guy who's the star of the Heat and still that guy. But think about other teams around the league where there's like Draymond Green's far from the most talented guy on the Warriors, but he absolutely makes that team run. Guys like Pat Beverly, who is so hateable, but you just like know what you're getting from a passion level. Marcus Smart, same thing. They're just like are guys who are able to uplift the team with their energy and not their play. And the Sixers have zero of that. So I still think that's my biggest takeaway on the game. And it's unfortunate that that's not changing. George Niang just does not quite cut it in that area.
Yeah, I mean, he's just not out there enough, and he's also
Yeah.
not effective enough to
Yeah.
continue being that. No, I think they missed out on PJ Tucker. I think
Yeah.
he's a guy that would have been like the perfect guy here. But there's a lot of guys out there. I think that's something that they should have on their checklist going into the offseason, whenever that may be. But until then, they'll deal with what they have. And I mean, hopefully, I don't know. Thinking about Butler, thinking about that time, it was fun while it lasted, but
Yeah. Yeah.
He's an X. He's an X. You got a lot of them. You look around this league, you got a lot of, former Sixers, and you deal with some of them that got away,
It's a good
obviously.
looking X. Good looking X.
He's a good one. I mean, Bridges is a good one. There's a lot of good ones out there. There's a lot of guys that you're like, oh, it'd be nice to have him right now.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. And Miami's still, like, right now, this series is gonna hurt me. It's going to, like, make me sick to my stomach, depending on the way that it ends, because this team just isn't that good. Like, if the Sixers were losing to the Bucks in this series, all right, okay, Giannis is,
Awesome.
two-time MVP. He's amazing. He's great. It's one thing to be losing to that team. This team just doesn't do it for me, and it's going to piss me off if they lose to them, because it just, they're just not that good. And they were spoon-fed 2 games at the beginning of this series because obviously the circumstances. But I don't know, man. I'm still standing firm in my ground. I believe in Game 6. Anything can happen in the Game 7. And I feel like it's time to turn the fortunes around, man. I feel like everyone's just, in the dumps right now. It's like, oh, Game 6, whatever. They're always just going to break our hearts. Like, all I've seen on the timeline last night is all this team ever does is break my heart. Is that true? Absolutely. 100%. I felt nothing but pain with this team from the time I decided to be a fan. But to this day, I find a way to have some optimism. I implore all of you to do the same. Find a way to believe in Game 6. Find a way to believe in a Game 7, because anything can happen. And until then, until they actually physically rip the heart out of my chest, I'm going to believe in them. Is that a mistake? Potentially. We'll never know. Actually, we'll know in a couple of days. But when we know, we'll know. Until then, I'll be okay.
Yeah, you're leaving on a more positive note than I personally am. So let's just rock with that then.
All right, man. Well, if we're good, we've we extended this one pretty good. I thought there was I was ready to be done talking about this at like 15 minutes, to be honest. We did a good job at extending it out. So if you guys are interested in keeping up with us, in the meantime, the Sixers play tomorrow night, 7 p.m. at the crib at the Wells Fargo Center, Game 6. If you're interested in keeping up with us till then, you can follow Sean on Twitter at Sean_Boudon1. Follow me at JSpray17. Follow the pod at PicksPod. Check out the YouTube. Get us anywhere you get your podcast, whether it's iTunes, Spotify. Make sure you check out BetUS. There'll be a link in the bio of the YouTube and the podcast, and you can use our code PICKSOFF at login for your first bet, risk-free up to $500. We appreciate you guys sticking around, and we'll be back after Game 6, hopefully in good spirits for Game 7, and we'll talk to you guys later in the week.